20 minutes. Each panelist will have 20 minutes to speak, and then we'll have a Q&A after that. So I'll just briefly introduce both the panelists before we start, and then we can start with our session today. So our first panelist, Dr. Rajesh Kumar. Dr. Rajesh Kumar is an assistant professor of computer science at Bucknell University, and he's also an adjunct faculty at IIT Delhi in India. He has received his PhD degree in computer science from Syracuse University and MS in mathematics from Louisiana Tech University. Uh, and he has an MCA degree from JNU as well. He has a lot of degrees, as you can see. He's a really fantastic to have him here to speak on this issue. His research leverages everyday human activities such as walking, typing, and swiping to advance cybersecurity, social media, forensic, academic integrity. His work has appeared in leading journals like IEEE, ACM conferences, and Transaction. He has received the Best Paper Award as well as multiple Best Reviewed Papers and Best Poster Awards. Uh, Welcome, Dr. Rajesh Kumar. Next, we have is Dr. Arvind Kumar. Arvind Kumar is a visiting lecturer in politics and international relation at University of Hertfordshire in UK. Previously, he has worked as a lecturer in criminology and sociology and a tutor in politics and international relation at Royal Holloway University in London. He's accredited as Fellow of the Advanced Higher Education Academy and holds a PhD in politics. Arvind has extensively published research papers, chapters, book reviews, and opinion articles. He has been a member and expert work. He's a member of the expert working group on violent extremism and cybercrime at the United Nations Interregional Crime and Justice Research Institute, which publishes the report on rise of right-wing and left-wing extremism. I would like to welcome Dr. Arvind Kumar, and we can start with Dr. Rajesh Kumar. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Durgesh, for the kind introduction. Sorry, I'm just trying to manage my slides. So when I was asked to actually do this, I didn't have much clue of what I should cover and how much should I cover. But I hope I'm just going to tell you the story of mine, and hopefully you'll connect with that. Let's first dive into something. What does first generation mean in academia? And we were just chatting about it. I had not even heard of this term before coming to the US, to be honest, and I connect it with this term so much nowadays, primarily because all of the struggles, all of the things that I went through, and then things that I did not know, and I wish I had known, it would have made my life easier and probably research and scholarship journey much easier. So essentially, a lot of things that are available to the second generation, third generation people, they are not available to first generation, which is lack of inherited academic capital, language, norms, networks, early exposure to constant. It could be financial, cultural, institutional, and I'm not going deeper into these because I'm assuming that most of you are aware of what kind of cultural barriers, social barriers that we go through by just being a part of a particular community, right? Um, so it is just not a demographic level. It is actually a structural knowledge gap is how would I put it? Where does that gap comes from, right? Come from. So we have to just understand that why we are not aware about things that we should be aware about to be a successful scholar or researcher or an academic. That gap actually comes from our own cultural and society. So this is where I was born in Amawari, and I'll just probably give you a little bit of story as well. And this was our kind of study conditions. This is how we used to study. This is my sister Rani, and then my maternal brother Anand, and then Manish on the right side, rightmost side. So this is how we studied in our like until primary or high school, actually until high school, when I left my village to pursue a bachelor degree in computer application. And that also happened by accident. There's a lot of things that has happened in my life has happened by accident. So how first is the first is what we have to understand. Um, and then does first generation apply differently to different level of education, whether it is first generation college or whether it is first generation graduate school, which is master degree you can connect to, or first generation PhD, because all of these things, all of these degrees or levels pose you different challenges as a first generation, whether you are a first generation woman, right? You have even bigger challenges, right? My sister went to one of the, I think, Dr. Ambedkar College in Delhi University, and first she was admitted to Miranda House, and then the kind of barrier and restrictions and then things that she faced, that she has to drop out and then opt for something else that she was more comfortable with. So she couldn't break the barrier of discomfort because she was not supported enough in Miranda House. Um, so I think it's very personal of first generation part. Um, Another thing that comes from our parents, my father is fifth standard pass. He is a tailor in village. My mother can't read and write. She's a very smart woman, but the fact that she can't read and write, we did not inherit a lot of things except for the stories that we hear about ghosts and other things. So I'm second among the six siblings. So I also did not have an elder brother. Actually, he had to drop out because he had to support the family for survival. So I didn't have someone to follow. All I had is people who might be like, who might have their stories published in Pratyogita Darpan or maybe Josh, I don't know, newspapers and so on. So I used to read a lot of newspapers. That's where I used to get all my information from. So lack of exposure to the literature, I really did not read any kind of literature before I found a book on Dr. Ambedkar, right? So, and I studied physics, math, chemistry, and you would know that how much attention we pay to English and Hindi literature, where all the stories in English literature we used to read John Milton, and I had really zero connection with those kind of stories because that kind of story did not. I was not able to connect with my own reality, right? So I had nothing to do with those stories. I couldn't connect with whatever was going on in my society, my community, my village, and my area of that. So what I'm trying to say from these things that I was far, far, far away from the academic world that we are part of right now and we envision. Um, but these are problems that are created structurally. Think about people who are approving these NCRT books or all of those UP board books and so on. And then some of these stories are being approved without thinking that the students won't be able to connect. Um, this is very well connected with the point that I always think about is when you're writing, you have to understand your audience. So if you don't understand your audience and your audience cannot connect, your readership cannot connect with your writing, then it is going to be difficult for you to disseminate that kind of research that you are doing, whether it is social science research or whether it is scientific research. So that's what I think, that it is a structural problem, but how to get through that problem is by connecting with people who have already been through this, and we all can become first generation and then provide support so the next generation doesn't feel like they are first generation again. They have the same struggles. Another thing that I actually observed in the US, that a lot of these top academic positions are held by people who are third, fourth generation, who kind of they have developed generational knowledge. I think that is lacking, of course, because of the structural um, you know, discrimination and all of the exclusion that we went through. So that is lacking. We have to be able to develop that generational knowledge. Um, Generational wealth is another thing, but we can discuss that as a topic for another day. So everything felt foreign. But then I found a book on Dr. Ambedkar. It was from a trash. We used to buy ice cream by giving a lot of raddi papers and then plastics and whatever that time. And then there I found a book on Dr. Ambedkar, and that tiny book printed on the dirtiest possible paper that I you could think of. And then I started reading that, and I connected with most of those incidents that had happened in Dr. Ambedkar's life. It gave me a sense of belief that whatever I was thinking as a barrier, they are actually not a barrier because somebody has already crossed those barriers, right? So I started believing, questioning, forming my opinion about things much differently than many of the members of my community used to, right? So that's where it all actually started. The belief is important. And I will come to the writing process before that how do I actually write? I should have structured this thought more of a scholarship and then writing and research and so on, but I'm just going to writing directly. Um, so how do I write actually? Before I write, I think writing is very much connected with reading, which is what I at least was not aware of until I struggled 3 to 4 years. Somebody else gave me a lot of comments, and then Sometimes someone just revising my paper has to become an author on my paper just because they were revising the writing. None of the technical contribution, I did most of the work, but still just because I couldn't write. That is one of the biggest challenge actually I faced when I came to the US. First year was like I really knew stuff. I had my MTech degree from JNU. I had written one paper which was not accepted, but one of the reason it was not accepted that it was poorly written. It was rejected from the journal by just saying that it is an interesting work, but it is very poorly written. We cannot accept. So it was rejected. And then what happened is 3 months later, the journal's editor actually reached out to us that your work was interesting. We would appreciate if you could resubmit it, and then we publish it. And then I started scrambling, and I was like, what to do? ChatGPT was not there. There were not many people I could contact to. I think one of the seniors from JNU came to help, and then we made him an author, and then he actually helped us write things. It got accepted within 2 months. That was my first paper story. So a lot of time I have seen that, especially researchers in India, they have a lot of great ideas, a lot of in-depth scientific knowledge, mathematics knowledge of theoretical knowledge and all of that. But what they are not able to do is not able to present their scholarship in a proper way, in an accessible way. So their scholarship is actually accepted at top quality journals or conferences and is read by more and more people. um, I will also cover that part that sometimes we just do research for the sake of doing it, and we don't think about why are we investing so much time in something that will not be read by people that we want to be it to be read by. So some of these things. So let's get to the my writing process as it is titled. First, I read widely and deeply. If I have to write about something, all I do is I just go and read as much as possible, right, about that topic, and I read widely to try to make a connection between that topic and the rest of the neighboring topics, and deeply, not just to accumulate information but to understand the subject area, the topic, the domain, the narrative, the critics, and so on, right? How other people think about that topic, you have to know that, because those are the people who are most likely going to read your papers, and if they cannot connect with what they have published, and if you cannot connect with what they have published, it's going to be difficult, right? And I also read the gaps, pay attention to what is not written, read between the lines, sort of. A lot of the times, there is a narrative that a particular author is trying to push. And I think social sciences research work very differently than scientific, especially the area that I work in. There, we generally start with method, right? We generally start with all the experiments, and then we run all the experiments and we have some results, and then we start actually writing about what method we followed and what result we got, and then we get back to the introduction related work and then abstract and conclusion. This part I was not aware. Every time we used to start like, oh, abstract come first, so we have to write the abstract first. Introduction, okay, introduction. And then half of the time we'll spend in that, and then we'll have to revise it again. So sometimes it just varies field to field, like how. Um, so this is what no and then knowing my audience was really important, so I started thinking whether PhD students are going to read my paper, or whether professors are going to read my paper, whether bachelor students who are starting their research are going to read my paper, who is going to read my paper, and then whether my paper is actually accessible to these different levels of people who have different levels of understanding. So there has to be, like, you have to think of your audience in mind. um, I think Gaurav and many other people who are writing poems probably, and they are also thinking about how it will reach to the to majority of the audience, so it will have its meaning. So this is what I would say that more methodologically, if I dive deeper, it's top down or bottom up, depending on what works for you, for your field and domain. Like I said, generally, um, I start with methodology, right? Running experiment results and methodology and so on. But then when we have it, methodology and results already available to us for writing, we exactly know that what kind of narrative can be set for the paper, and that helps us get the outline. So I generally write in top-down manner, but then top-down manner doesn't mean that start with abstract and introduction. Top-down manner means that I generally set the outline. I keep thinking about it, I generally set the outline, that also I put some like second level of outline, which is what exactly I'm going to say in the introduction, what 4 points I want to make, and out of those 4 points I write 4 paragraph, and those 4 things should come out when the reader is actually reading my research. right? That is what I generally follow. So outline and then sub outline and then start building the paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs. But some people have very different. Free writing is a concept where what you have to do is you have to just put your ideas together on, a lot of sticky notes, and then you start connecting those ideas. That is another way of writing. A lot of established author actually follow a hybrid method. So sometimes they just put an outline, put like bottom raw ideas, and then put an outline, and then come back, and then so on. They go back and forth. One thing that has stuck with me is revision. First draft, they call it first draft is always junk. So you have to be able to revise and revise, read and revise. And then sometimes what happens, we just read and revise the particular section that we are writing. Sometimes that section we have to read the entire thing again and again. I call it iteration. So sometimes when the 10th iteration will look poorer or worse than the first iteration and second iteration. And that is the process of writing. At some point, you will feel comfortable and you'll know enough that how this material should be communicated in a much more structured manner. That someone, so this is one gap that I've figured is we write in many, many, many days. We take like 10 days, 20 days, months, maybe sometimes a year to write something, right? But the readers are going to read it in probably 2 hours, 3 hours, or maybe 1 day or 2 day, depending on. I'm just talking about research paper. Books are very different ball game. So here we have to think that if somebody is reading this material, and that's what I do. I act as a reader. I print my own paper and then I start reading. It's very difficult to find your own mistakes, so it's always a good idea to find someone who can read your research, and especially non-specialist. And that's kind of strategy they follow here as well, right? Because not everybody is a specialist in your area. They might be just wanting to start researching your area, so it's better that you make your material accessible to them as well. So that is what I would say, that revision is the key. So keep revising as much as you can until you actually reach to something. The problem also was that I did not know what a good writing looks like, what a good research paper looks like, right? I had no benchmark or reference or target to achieve. Um, the best way that I figured that how I taught myself that what a good writing looks like is by reading very good papers. So I used to read, I read papers from only generally top transactions and top conferences. There you can get an idea of what kind of graph, what kind of presentation skills, what kind of explanation skill, statistical test, whatever. You go deeper and deeper, how to explain something, right? By reading good papers, you will get a kind of very good idea of what a good writing looks like. So that would be my suggestion for you. Again, a lot of tools, productive tools that we kind of ignore sometime, Google Doc, Microsoft Word, Overleaf, they have a lot of features. And then citations, Jotero, Mendeley, if you have heard of, some of these things save a lot of time in writing. At least they don't break your chain of thought, right? Thinking process. Um, a lot of other tools like Notion and Obsidian we have not used. I have not used myself, but my students use them to make mind map of all of the ideas. They just upload like 10 papers, and all of a sudden they get a mind map of from all of those 10 papers. So I have not used that, but then students are using that very productively. Um, Grammarly is there. It helped me. You will not believe that the major mistakes that I used to make is articles, a and the, plural, singular, because I was never forced to write anything before literally getting into research, right? I'd never written, and then all of those things that we were forced to write in English were like letter to your principal, essay on cow, and all of those things. So it was very difficult. If somebody is coming from English medium and there's a lot of writing happening, you might not be able to connect with those struggles, but we went through that. Nowadays, it's AI. So a lot of people are using AI, but I think I have also used it. I have been a victim of overusing AI. So the feedback that I have for you is use AI as an assistant tool, not as an author. Don't try to replace yourself with the AI, because you're still the best computer that we can make, right? So that's what my idea is, that use it as a tool for idea generation, drafting and rewriting, polishing, grammar, and all of those things. Don't try to replace your thinking process with AI. You can brainstorm with it. You can ask questions. You can say you can critique. Okay, you can ask AI to critique your own writing. You can do all of those, but all of those are just assistants. Replace your supervisor, replace your student, but then don't replace yourself, because you are the main person who is thinking about this idea as deeply as you can. Um, so transitioning to the research part, I think that was more about writing. So transitioning to the research part, we as a first generation students do not lack ability, right? We just lack, we have just a lot of knowledge gaps. We have never read good paper, we have never read good literature, so we don't know how things flow, right? So an academic language, it's like, have you ever thought of why the paper has to be written in these 5 sections: abstract, introduction, related work, methods, result and discussion, and then conclusion? Are these sections independent of each other? Should they be? A lot of times I have found that, and then I used to do it myself. It is like a first um uh, generation writers problem, I can call it, is like, I used to explain my results in methods and methods in results. Like sometimes I used to mix up things so much, and then introduction with related work and related work with introduction. And I can tell you, or even people doing research for like 10 years, 5 years, um they still probably make that mistake. So we have to understand that we have to think of this structure, why this structure is in place for years and years and years, and why people follow, and what does that structure mean, right? So that is what I would say, that we are not aware about these things. And then there is a need of reading about, taking a step back and reading about why something exists. And then why do we have to follow that? What does it mean? Especially people have tried to create a standard where readers and writer can meet to a certain point, that readers expect something, and then you kind of deliver that part. So it becomes much easier. If everybody starts following a different structure completely, then it will be difficult for the reader to actually, if you're reviewer, you're reading 6 papers and all of them are completely differently structured, you'll have difficult time. If you're just reading as a student scholar, then it will be also a difficult problem, right? That you have to read so many types of writings. So it's better that we both follow a standard, right? That this is what is expected. um One more thing that I realized, that it is just because we don't have access to the networks and mentorship, and that's why we are not aware of these things. Most research training, yeah, I have been training a lot of undergraduate research, and I've become very much interested in exposing undergraduate research to undergraduate students to research, primarily because when I started thinking about myself, I thought that when I was an undergraduate student, I had so much energy, so many ideas, and I never believed anything is impossible, and that time was really different. Literally, I could read technical books in a week. Like that was, but that was technical books. I never read like literature. And then right now, I don't write technical book, but I write technical papers. So that time I was not reading technical papers. I did not know how to organize things. But then book was written in chapters and questions and concepts and examples and so on. That was very kind of mechanical, or maybe I would say that pattern was there, but it was not a pattern of writing your research into a paper. Um,
I
so
would like to intervene. If you could conclude, so
yeah,
you can have our next speaker as well.
great.
Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that reminder was needed. So coming back to scholarship, what I used to think was a scholarship not counting the number of papers, not measuring hours worked, not chasing productivity of its own sake. I tried to write my thoughts down, not doing research because it is required to graduate, not copying existing ideas, because a lot of these things actually happen in India nowadays, are happening. And I'm really, really worried. So as a first generation, or as a Bahujan scholar, I would suggest that you refrain from some of these, doing from some of these things. Think about, you're putting time, your advisor is putting time, so work on a good problem that is useful for the society, or that is advancing the knowledge in certain way, right? So think of scholarship as a thinking deeply, consistently, live a life of a scholar. So there was a quote that dream is not what you see in sleep, but it's from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, but dream is something that doesn't let you sleep. Very similarly, research is not something like number of paper citations and all of that, but you keep thinking about that topic all the time. Wherever you find a material, you just read about that topic, and then keep questioning, keep critiquing everything. So that's what a research should be. And then I think beginner stage research should, like, okay, find a mentor, just get started. Do not wait that you are ready. you will never be ready for doing a good research. You just get started and learn the art of research, right? Also, how to communicate with your advisor. I generally get discouraged when students are not responsive. When I send an email and you've not responded 36 hours, I think that you are not serious and sincere enough. If you come to the meeting without preparation, then that's a problem. If you come in to the meeting without specific, very specific questions, that this is what I need help with, that is a problem. So some of these mistakes as a beginner we make, and we should not be making if you are trying to be a beginner researcher. But there is something for mid-level stage. So later in my career, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, I realized that I was just trying to publish all over. But then somebody told me that, think about 10 years down the road what you'll be known for, right? And then organize your research projects accordingly. Develop a research program. The advantage of doing that is when you get deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper into a certain topic, it is much easier to publish on that topic than exploring a new topic every year. So those are the things. And then, of course, collaboration and network is what has helped me. I have collaboration at Triple IT Delhi, BITS Pilani, and then some other schools that I'm working with in the US as well. So that has helped me a lot, actually. Learn, literally. I would never have learned those things on my own without having those collaboration at my disposal. So I think those are the tips that I would give for early and mid-level researcher. I'm not a senior level researcher, so I don't have any tips at the moment. But yes, that'll be all from my side. Thank you. I hope it is helpful. It was helpful.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, for such an insightful presentation. Before we go on to our next speaker, Bharat has posted a link for a feedback form. If you have opportunity to just look at the feedback form and give your feedback. Your feedback is really helpful in running this program. We'll now go to Dr. Arvind Kumar.
Uh, Thank you, Durgesh, and thank you, Dr. Bharat, for inviting me, for sharing my thought. And after Rajesh ji spoke, I think there is very little there is very little scope for me to now speak on this topic. You
Arvind,
can
sorry.
imagine. Yeah.
Arvind, sorry for interrupting. Your face is going down, like, so can you,
Oh,
yeah.
now it is fine.
Sorry, yeah, it's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So you can imagine, like, when Dr. Rajesh left JNU, then I joined for my BA. So in 2010, I started my BA in JNU and did my BA in Arabic language and then moved to Political Science Center for Political Studies. I did my MA there and MPhil. And after that, I came for PhD in Royal Holloway, University of London in 2019 and got awarded PhD in 2024, November 2024. And I am very like early career scholar. I have published a couple of research papers, but mostly like I have written opinion articles. And because I am in social science, so like experiential part of what Dr. Rajesh has shared, like we all share similar kind of story or similar kind of journey. And in my family there hasn't been anyone who has before me who has entered university. No one like has gone to university except my maternal uncle who did his MSc from one of the degree colleges, but he was in another subject in sciences. And my story would be much more about social sciences, what is going on social sciences. And I have so far as like I have published three research papers. One research paper I published in South Asia Research, Journal of South Asia Research, in which Gaurav is in an editorial board member. And happy to share that my article is fourth most read article of that journal. And then recently I published in South Asia Multidisciplinary Academic Journal, which is gets published from Science Po. And then third article I published in Journal of Indian Politics and Party. And two articles have been like my two articles have been accepted. One is Journal of National Law School, which would be published in next month, and another one is in Journal of Transient Migration. Again, it is going to publish in April. And two revise and resubmit decision I have got. One is from Contemporary South Asia, and another one is from Commonwealth and Comparative Politics. So that is what the overall publication stage of mine. And we know nowadays there is extensive discussion, like extensive talk in like particularly in UK academia, it is whether publish or perish. So if you are not going to publish, you will gradually perish from the academia. And what approach I have adopted, I see publication, particularly for as a first generation academic learner, I see publication in terms of developmental approach. So what happens frequently, like I talk to my colleagues and friends who have not published anything, and I tell them, okay, try to submit something. But big problem which they are facing in social science, like if you have one idea, sometimes that idea would be very small idea, but it keeps like making round in our mind, that as if we have something very big to make contribution, and we never write for that. That approach, like I have abandoned that approach since 2019 because I started writing columns. So columns gives me two opportunity. One, it is like good source of finance, and another is that when I write the idea, just few days ago, I was thinking that, oh, I have published three research paper on reservation in 2010, and there are at least 10 like opinion articles which I have published. Those I can convert in a, now it can be converted in a book. Imagine like from today onward, if I have to think that, okay, I have to write a book, it will take long time to do research and whether topic is coming in your mind or not. So one approach which I have adopted is that if some like unique idea is coming in my mind, way back in my like when I was doing BA and MA, that time, like I used to carry diary. So in diary, I used to write down if something comes in my mind. This is what my Professor Vivek Kumar and others, Professor Y.S. Elone had suggested me in JNU that pen down your ideas, whatever is coming in my mind. But that shift I took from like in when it started doing PhD, I took another shift in terms of properly writing down, penning down. And when I write down, if there is an idea, I just simply write down without thinking that, oh, what people are gonna to make, what judgment people are gonna to make about my thought process. Because I consider like if I have written something, it is not a final opinion. As I will later on, I will collect evidence and the data and other things. Then like this thought process can get changed. So that is one aspect. Second aspect, what I think that like writing is a process, and we keep like we whenever we write, we keep learning that every time we will write, we will learn that this is what is going to happen. Take, for example, when my supervisor was editing my thesis, a very simple thing which like he got frustrated for like 2 years is that in introduction itself you should write everything what is written in your art in your rest of the chapter. So like we write in section 2 discusses methodology, section 4 presents evidence. Like for 3 years I couldn't understand that what he means, that these are the things which you have to write. And similarly, when we are writing, like someone is saying that you have to write bibliography, citation, referencing, and every time we cannot learn like these things. Every article tells us like this is the way you have to learn. So take for example, when I wrote article in contemporary South Asia research, the editor, he liked my idea so much because like he it was a controversial topic, and he liked my courage to like to write on that kind of topic where settled academician will not touch. And at least 25 times he pushed me for editing the articles. And I didn't know that, okay, if with small things I didn't know that if some author has written Misra and he has written spelling Misra, Misra, and in North India it is written Mishra, so I have to retain the original what that person is writing. These kind of like minute detail where like comma should be placed, where full stop should be placed in when you are writing, giving detail of in your bibliographic reference. These ideas were not known to me, and like and we cannot expect that only one author would be only one editor will tell you everything. So like one editor taught me that these are the errors which you have to remove now. So if once I learn this idea, then in next article at least that issue is gone. So second time, just will give you example. Recently, when I was editing my second article, which is coming in Journal of Transient Migration, it is on reproduction of caste inequality and anti-caste resistance in UK. And editor gently pointed out two things. He said that there was a comment in the article that 27 times, however, has been used in the article. Now, this is a big learning lesson, and someone can like. So these are like it might look small, but if an editor of good journal would be reading your article, that he or she might find it is a poor quality of the writing, and it will push for desk rejection of the article at the graduate level. And I removed it immediately. Like immediately I learned that, and after that all next article first thing I tried to look, okay, how many times I have used, and this is one like big error which I have to remove. Similarly, how you are presenting like your thought and thought processes. So these are like couple of like every articles when I have published or edited, I learn something from like from those editors. So in my discipline there has been there are discussion that how you should publish, whether you should go directly for publishing top quality journals. So take for example in my discipline it is Journal of American Political Science Association, or Journal of Politics, or those kind of journal are considered to be top most disciplinary academic journal. But when in first go itself, person like us, me, who is a first generation academician, if that kind of person first goes in those for publishing in those journals, there is higher possibility of getting desk rejected. But when we publish from like area studies and then like journals which are have good standing, but where we can get good feedback at least, and that helps us to like to build up a good knowledge and knowledge for getting crossed in like in bigger journals. So because of all these things I have done, just 2 months ago I submitted one of our article which I have written along with two other scholars, just for the sake of like I thought that okay, let us get review at least. So I submitted that article to one of very good like top five journal of my discipline. And when they came to know my other co-author, they told me that no, you should not have done, it was not up to that standard and it will get desk rejected. But article got desk clearance. So that kind of confidence, now I gain the idea that okay, because I am able to push like move my article from desk clearance is because of the publication which I have done, and that have taught me at least like correcting factual error, going for looking into your structure, the way you have presented your argument. These are the ideas which I have learned. And I think like, so this would be like one suggestion for young scholars from Bahujan community. Like they should like not directly jump to the topmost academic journals, but start like little bit what is called low hanging fruit. And target should be, ultimate goal should be like publishing in the topmost academic journal. But gradually when we start from bottom level, we learn something, like every stage we learn, and then gradually we move on upward ladder. That's one idea which I would like to share. And second is quick learning along with our PhD mentors, and also in social science, particularly in my field, what approach I have adopted. I have tried to build at least a collaboration with the two, three scholars who are little bit senior to me, who has already published, and contributing with them. That is a like working in co-authorship that helps us to learn something. And also I am not only doing that, but also doing with the young scholars, at least two three. When if you will read my opinion article in the print, you will find at least 4 5 young PhD students I have written like co-author. I have co-authored with them, and that is one stage, and then gradually bringing them for next stage in academic writing. So first, like if someone is, I write on election is one of my area of research. So if I will write on Bengal, I try to find out someone there and writing, and later on if they can put up effort, then we can move on gradually like publishing a small research paper. And for me, we are, what I am doing, I am also using another way is building collaboration with other senior scholars for publishing research article. Thirdly, which I have recently like came across an issue with our community, is particularly like, that is how I was trained when I was doing MPhil and particularly MA and MPhil, and was in direct conversation with in JNU, particularly Professor Vivek Kumar and YS Alone and Rao Saab, Kale, Sona Jharia, Mehinja, all these people knew me very well. But some of these senior professors suggested me like, do not try to get invested like writing on your experiences. Do not make, this is big problem which I have started noticing among like scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, backward caste scholar, like in social sciences, they have invested themselves on writing about experiences rather than moving on like picking up the topic of comparative in nature, and which is called general theoretical and theoretical topics. So what is happening with those when like these days I am observing that, so those who has like started researching on experiences, big issue is coming up when we are selling our, like this Western academia, they want us to tell us about our experiences, and when we present our experiences, there is a market demand of the market, and that demand is that we should present ourselves as a hero, that I come across, overcome across everything. Nobody helped me, and I was someone, a big hero, who has overcome all sort of challenges, fighting every kinds of odd, and we have Trump. That is how like these Western academia thinks, that our funding agencies and other things think for us to do. Now, big issue here is like in this approach, what I find, I have noticed that I have come across in UK so many people I know, like 9 year I have spent in Delhi and seen people like to meeting our professors. Professors have offered them money, they have offered them food, 2 3 months accommodation. Friends have given like those who have been there. Now because of all these the demand of the petty market demand, people are saying that no one has helped us at any cost. Imagine. So if it is only if by saying that okay no one has helped me, if by saying that we are able to gain something, that's a fine. But we know that in academics one cannot sustain without a social capital, without good social capital. And how can we build up social capital unless and until if we do not recognize the contribution of the friends and colleagues and seniors who are making in our life. If we are denying their contribution for petty things, we cannot. I don't think that such people would be able to build up a social capital. And if that would not be there, then we are back to the same place where we began. And if I am not like if someone has sent me the research paper and I am like giving whole day I for giving like comment and feedback, and next day person says that no, I published it, no one gave any kind of assistant in
Ar-
publishing, I think.
Arvind,
Yeah.
sorry, 2 minutes to conclude. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yes. Just I am so I think that is gonna to once again that is biggest. It is gonna to be one once again. It is gonna to be a big hurdle in publishing. So that's a last thing, and I will take up questions if there would be anything from anyone. Thank you, Bharat.
Uh, Thank you, Dr. Arvind Kumar, for such a fantastic talk. We had two speakers who kind of gave us an idea of like what goes, like how do you put your narrative, what goes behind doing research, what goes behind in publishing. So the structural knowledge gap that Dr. Rajesh Kumar was talking about was somewhat like lessened by, or we have some knowledge of how we can do things, right? So now the floor is open for Q&A for everyone. Just be brief with your question or comments. I can start off with a question on AI, specifically like in social sciences. Like I know Dr. Rajesh Kumar spoke about using AI constructively, but I have also seen, especially in social sciences, like when you use AI, you often get marked, like especially in your assignments or anything, you get marked as plagiarism, right? In US, like it's a very common practice. If you and there are like now professors who are rejecting AI as like a plagiarism thing. So how would you uh, what will you tell students who are using AI or other generative software? Like what care should be taken while using those software?
I can start. Okay. So social sciences and humanities, I recently had a conversation with a professor of political science at Bucknell University where I work, and he was talking about both negatives and positives. So what professors are looking for first? First, you have to think that what they are looking for. They are looking for genuine effort in creating and constructing the arguments, right? Whether that comes from brainstorming with GPT or learning more from GPT and then building up your ideas. Like I said, reading, right? So you can ask GPT what are the most important papers, seminal paper have been published on this topic. You just go through that. Okay, summarize this for me. So GPT will make it faster for you read things, right? Summarize things and so on. But don't get into that trap all the time because sometimes reading a whole paper has its own meaning, right? If there is a very good paper and you spend like whole day reading that paper, I think it's worth it sometimes. Um, Polishing grammatical errors and all of that, use it as a tool. So I don't think professors are penalizing you for using GPT as a tool. They are penalizing you for just submitting GPT's work as your own work. They are just afraid that you are not actually building the thinking, critical thinking process. So I would say that, as a student, you should be mindful of what is your job, your role, and what professors are looking at. I think I'll conclude there. I'll listen to Professor Arvind Kumar because he may have more to say about. Yeah.
Yes, like in UK also, like we are teaching and frequently coming across like students using Chat GPT, but major concern of ours is not like whether a student have written himself or herself or whether it is completely created by Chat GPT. So, so here, like we have been given clear instructions that you can use it ethically, particularly for improvement of language, building coherence in the argument. For these sort of things, one can use generative AI. But for the creation of content itself, for the writing, for example, for writing research proposal or literature review, these things are completely not tolerable, and I particularly also do not tolerate like regularly every year, like in every module, whenever I spot that kind of use, I immediately report to the academic misconduct committee, and it is very painful for me seeing that students coming from South Asia, Africa, those who have spent 30 to 20 lakh, 30 to 35 lakhs rupees in UK, they being failed because of like my report which I have submitted. So it is personally painful also, but we do not have like any other solution except like telling students in advance that you should not use or how you should use. So yeah, so writing in terms of language editing and making building coherence, that's a fine, it is getting acceptable everywhere, but you cannot replace it. We know that in my subject there are research which suggest that in methodology, ChatGPT or other tools cannot write methodology section of the writing. Theoretic implementation of theory, it cannot write. It just gives you a summary of theory. So that's why it should not be used as a replacement, but as a assistance tool, that's fine.
Mahesh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mahesh.
are you able to hear? Yeah.
Yes.
So, firstly, thank you so much, both of you. So my question is, when we talk about, the kind of research that we do, which, um, like our lived experience shapes what topics, what disciplines, what methods that we, consider, and even our own scholarship, like publications, etc. Um, so when we do this kind of research and publish these kind of articles, right, and then we go to job market, especially like I'm in social sciences, public policy and economics, right? So in UK as well as in US, because I didn't finish my PhD, so I'm not yet. I'm just curious. Both in UK and in US, um, do they give value to this kind of, like, when you go and present as a job market candidate? This is my experience. This is how it impacted my scholarship, and this is the kind of thing that I do and I plan to do. Do they consider that as welcoming, or put it in like on a much higher grading and rate, or they would be like, oh, I mean, they would just decline or reject, or they see it as some sort of not very good around your suitability? I'm just curious. Yeah, thank you.
Let Arvind go first.
Yeah. Hello, sorry, someone
Y-
was just calling me.
I said I
Yeah,
will let you go
Mahesh,
first.
yeah. this is like one of the big challenge. I do not know like US academia, but UK academia, I am seeing particularly the way job market has declined. I would always suggest that though it is very important, like I am not dismissing that we should not like write our experiences and scholarship based on our experiences, but we have to, if we need to be in academia in UK, then there is a strong need that you have to be expert of at least something. Like we are going to teach in particular departments, and if we are teaching in the department, then expertise in overall expertise in your subject, that is what is going to sustain in the academia, rather than like specifically uh, contained with the scholarship which is based on our experience. So that's a big issue. So like I, though I write on the caste, but look role of the caste in candidate selection. So present, I always present my scholar. So when there is like that kind of job interview, I present my scholarship as a like working on someone who works on candidate selection, who can look into comparative literature. But simultaneously, when it comes to, then I present my work as okay, I have looked into the role of caste in, so both way how like you are framing. So gradually, when you are working on this kind of topic, although I am very new, not very much to present myself that I am not very much qualified to talk about this, about are giving a good advice, but based on my little bit experience, I would say that you have to always think what are the broader like theme in which you are going to make contribution. So one must be a scholar of a particular theme rather than a particular topic. So in which broader theme my works fit in, that is how we can present our work to the global audience, global academia. Yeah.
Yeah. I think your last few points were really on the point. In US, I think story matters a lot. You have to be very strategic about things, of how you are bringing your personal story and then making a connection to the broader impact, broader audience, broadening participation, and so on. And then, like, how did you become passionate about this topic? Right. So connecting those dots, but not telling too much, to be honest, because everybody's people, whether US, UK, or India, they are definitely, if you reveal too much about yourself, they're probably going to judge you, and there'll be people on the panel. So I think just strategically connecting those dots and saying that why I'm passionate about this topic and why this topic matters, and if we study this topic, these are the things that we can actually do, right? Um, so I've seen a lot of people studying those topics which is very close to their heart, but then they set the narratives that it is kind of other people can connect with it. Um, Good quality research is valued more than quantity, at least in the US, that I can say. I have seen people getting job with just 3 publications, but they're really good. There's some contribution in the field,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think having what Dr. Arvind Kumar said, like having a scholarly agenda and what perspective you will add to that scholarly agenda, right? Like if, let's say, if anything that you're studying about like caste in India or anything like race in US or comparative work you're doing, what perspective that you're adding to what already has been done, like based on your location or anything, right? Like methodologically, theoretically, what you're doing to that topic is very important. Um, I think we have a question from an audience in the chat. If you want to read out, Shubham, or I can also read it out.
Yeah.
The question is, how good is to write a paper with your supervisor or a professor in collaboration while doing a PhD, or should we just focus on our individual project?
So there is a reason that academia works in a particular way, that you are assigned a supervisor because they have walked that particular path. They have a lot of knowledge. It's always good to have them on your side to be honest. So whatever you work on, even if it is an individual project, you should just go and discuss and debate and then probably get their insights, even if they are just, available for brainstorming or,
Yeah.
it is very useful. And then having their name on the article with you also added some sort of more credibility to those thoughts that you put into the paper. I would say try your best to publish with your supervisor. First priority would be that, because sometimes that is a requirement for your PhD graduation, at least in the US. And then forge collaboration. Whenever you are forging collaboration, some professors are sensitive, so make sure that your advisor is aware of, or your supervisor is aware of those kind of collaborations. It would be better that if it comes from his side or her side, that you are forging this kind of collaboration, because they are also interested in, learning and advancing their research agenda.
Yeah, I do agree with what Dr. Rajesh Kumar ji has said, that it is nowadays little bit there is a, but if in Western academia this is not a question that one should publish with supervisor or not. That is a mandatory thing. One should publish, like a kind of mandatory. Although I myself have not published, but my supervisor has offered me 3 opportunities for like working with him, which one I am working on and couldn't work on another one because of my issue, not with his. But in India nowadays, there are quite a lot of discussion. Sometimes students think that, oh, I have written something very unique, and how can I share authorship with another professor? So that is not a good approach at all. I think that if you are a PhD student and working with this with supervisor and thinking that, you yourself should approach supervisor asking that, can we submit it as a co-author piece, because like in UK part particularly, for example, in job market, they see both, whether you have published individual and whether you have published with someone with the co-authorship. So if you have published with someone, then you get a point for collaboration. And if you have published as an individual, so they think that, okay, you can like independently work on that. So in one's CV, both should be there. A co-author paper as well as a a like one individual author paper. Co-author showing collaboration. Another shows you have like approach of independent working. And thirdly, sometimes for the research projects, project-based postdoctoral and other position, they ask for like whether you have worked in the supervision. So that doesn't mean that you have done your PhD. They mean that whether you have published under someone's supervision or not. So this gives, like publishing with supervisor gives a sense, a meaning that you have, supervisor might have been giving instruction and you worked on those instruction which resulted into publication. So project also works on same line. So someone would be giving you instruction, you would be executing, and will leading to the publication. So it is always like in all two ways, it is good for working in collaboration and publishing with supervisor. Yes.
We have a couple of questions in the chat. The first question is from Ashwini Meshram, where she's talking about, where they're talking about like they are currently a student at Columbia University in New York. They have worked experience for around 8 years, but they don't have any published paper, and they want to apply for PhD. How should they proceed without any publication?
Thank you for the question. I'll try to answer quickly. So yes, there's a whole lot that happened between a publication and then you starting your research journey. I think when you write your personal statement for PhD admission and so on, you have to show that you have been active, actively interested in the research. What do I mean by actively interested? Have you reached out to advisor? Have you started reading papers? And have you at least published a workshop paper or a conference paper or a journal paper? As Arvind said, that you have to start somewhere. And then something that distinguishes you from somebody else who has not done anything, literally. So that's the whole point of somebody reading your application packet and somebody else's application packet. They should be able to distinguish between those two packets, that how much effort you have already put into this. And that shows that how passionate and motivated you are to do research. Because I think you can train for everything, but motivation and passion and commitment, and then probably, a lot of those things. So they are looking for someone who they can train, who is motivated enough, proactive, and so on. So those things are shown better by a little bit of activities and participation that you have been doing, right?
Yeah.
For example, I wanted to become a faculty, and then I used to attend a future professoriate program. There used to be just talk how to develop your syllabus, how to teach, and what are the mechanics of teaching and all of that. It showed that I have made some active attempt to learn how teaching works, right? I think I'll stop there.
Yeah, Rajesh ji, thank you. Just to add what Dr. Rajesh ji has said, that like in UK, we know that for no one is expecting to be for a graduate student or a student who have done masters to have a published paper in good academic general. But what one would be expecting that what in UK is called collectively it is called scholarship. So you should have published at least blog, opinion article, and maybe book review, which are easy. And for article, you could have like what they might be expecting, whether you have submitted it something for peer review or not. So even if you have submitted for peer review, it will make distinction. Your application would be distinguished from other generic application, because as I said in the beginning, publication process is seen as a developmental approach. Several like editors have told us that we do not expect that for early career researcher they would have written good paper. I am part of the here UK's Political Studies Association. I am EDI officer in Early Career Network, and Political Studies Association runs three academic journals. And every year in one we organize their roundtable conference of editors. And editors told that 2 years ago, like that is how first time I came to know, they said that you should submit your paper to us, write that we are early career researcher, we will ensure that your article at least should go for the review, and so that it can get improvised. We do not like apply same yardstick for senior scholars and newly like freshly PhD graduates. So similarly for the graduate students, you should try to at least like showcase your work, or what we say willingness to go on the path of the publication, and that will not only come through research paper but also through blogs and opinion article and all those sort of things. Yeah, thank you.
I think just to add to that, especially in US, when you're applying in social sciences, you have to give in your writing sample. So even if your paper is not published, but your writing sample has to be in a good condition, so they will read and they will understand, oh, this has a potential to be published, or it's a good writing sample. So just having a paper that you have written in hand, it could be an assignment, it could be anything that you have done, a 20 to 30 page paper before you apply would be a good idea to have it. If you
Yeah.
have an
Sorry, I just want to add because I'm just sharing my experience as an assistant director at graduate school. And so, yes, if you have a publication, is great. But if you have a small publication in a like a magazine or something like that, and well written in terms of the theoretical base or with the argument and kind of, that is also enough. Because I was part of the selection committee, and we consider that because we do not expect, Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Arvind said that we do not expect that all student, those who apply, they have a journal publication and so on. So small paper, small magazine article, well written, theory based, and a critical understanding, that would really kind of helpful, and they consider it.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of questions more. I'll just combine them together. We have one from Umesh and one from Anurag Kumar. So while Umesh is talking about like, do you have any suggestion or any online resources or book for developing academic expression? And the second one from Anurag, which talks about how to build social capital or collaboration for someone who lacks academic capital, right? So I think those both are kind of a similar question. Yeah.
Second one I will take. I think first one Rajesh is kind of. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Honestly, it's a little bit generic question, but then to learn academic expression, I think I would start with just probably reading survey papers and so on, what paper, to learn about the domain and then the knowledge. And then I will read very specific paper published on that particular problem that I'm interested in. Um, because there is a lot of other YouTube videos I'm fan of, and then I watch some of those videos. Some of them are gold you can find, like how to really express yourself, how to organize your papers, and all of that. There's a lot of good advices out there. So I'm not going to get into, but I think I mentioned that reading a good journal paper is probably enough to understand that how to express your ideas, right? That's where I would probably start. Okay, how I had some other things to say, but I'm blanking out right now. I think reading a book about academic writing might be probably too much, probably will be boring to you as well. Start writing something. Would be probably a good. So read a couple of papers and then you start writing and see how do you write and understand your writing process, understanding your writing process. I think Arvind mentioned it, but writing is the highest form of thinking. So, so when you start writing and then put your thoughts into words, it's actually going to um, give you next step of what you should do. And then iteration is another part that I mentioned. Building social capital and collaborator. I'll say a couple of sentences, although Arvind said he will answer.
Yes.
Is I think if you're seeking help, there is a lot of people who are ready to help. You have to be just consistent and persistent and reach out to people. You can reach out to 100 people. Even you just need one or two people to actually be able to help you. At least in the US universities, and I'm sure in Indian universities, if you show enough persistence and dedication, any professor or any of your colleague who has already published is going to definitely help you, at least walk you through what they went through. And that's where you actually start to build those. Um, Also, you can learn by just working in a team. Even if it is not your research project, just ask professor that can I join any research project that is already going on, right? You just be part of those meetings and then see how people just observe them. You learn by observing a lot, right? I think I would start there if you're just a beginner.
Yeah. So great, Rajesh ji. So just on the point of social capital, like one concrete way of looking into building social capital, we is like joining professional networks of your own subject. There you meet like a lot of people, particularly like I am here part of three social like professional bodies. One is Political Studies Association, where I am EDI officer of Early Career Network. Then Social Policy Association here in UK. On that, like with Social Policy Association, it has given me three things. One, I got a small research grant, £1,000 for doing my one of the research paper. One of initial idea in 2020, I wrote a blog, opinion article in the print analyzing interview data of civil services examination in caste discrimination in interview. For that, I got £1,000 early career research grant. And then with that association, I became like a editorial board member of one of the top most general of international social policy, which is called International and Comparative Social Policy. And along with that, I work as a trustee of British Political Science, British Association for South Asian Studies. So these are like professional association gives your engagement in professional association gives like it provides very good opportunity for building social capital. And I think like as early as for young scholars, if you we understand those who are in India, it is sometimes it is costly, but they have reduced fee. Sometimes you can write to them and say that I am unable to pay the fee. They might give you some more relaxation, but try to become part of the any association, particularly if you are in social science. Yeah.
I think just to add to that, the other thing is like forming a peer group, which is really helpful. Like for me, like in US when I'm still doing my PhD, like having your cohort mate read your paper, or like just your friends and colleagues reading your paper, and just like having that group where you meet like once in a month or something, where you share your ideas or get feedback from people, like different people. So you're not only reading other people's work, but you're also sharing. So you're also learning like how other people are writing and what kind of feedback you're giving to them. And you can incorporate some of those feedback in your own writing as well. So I think having those groups, informal groups with your peers and colleagues are really important in learning to write and understand things.
What?
The other thing I would say is like if you are a US PhD student, I think almost all universities have writing centers which have a really good guidance of like how to formulate your ideas. Like they'll tell you like if you can just go there, either you can like send in your paper and then they'll help you editing it, or you can have ideas and they'll like give you like how to get that ideas into a paper so they can help you, like you can set up a session with them, and it has been helpful for me. Like I go there regularly just to bounce back ideas and think about it. So yeah. uh,
Following Durgesh, I just wanted to say two sentences more. LinkedIn is the best place, literally, that you can just go ahead and connect all the scholars in your field. They're posting a lot of things. Sometimes you can read their paper and then have 3 lines of sentences, 4 lines of commentary of why did you like the paper and what didn't you like the paper. Have at least 500 people, and at least 100 of them should be what you want to become 5 to 10 years down the road, because you will keep learning some of those things implicitly that you don't realize, but they will be very useful in the long run. And then it will give you more visibility in the community as well, in the public, publishing community. A lot of students are doing that, and I think I really admire that kind of work that they're doing. Yeah.
I think we have one more question from Mahesh. I'll just summarize the question. So, uh, it's about like collaborative writing again, like in STEM, that it's like norm to like there are like sometimes 10 or more authors in STEM field. So how is that perceived in social sciences? Is it seen as a collaborative model, or just like where each contributor is just contributing very bare minimum to the paper? Like how is it seen in social sciences?
Should I take or Rajeshi?
Go ahead. You social sciences, so I thought you will take it first. But I can
Sir,
actually make
yeah,
maybe
first I think you should go and then I can
just 2 sentences about this. Is I think you just have to tell the truth of what was your role in that paper development process, right? I think that would be more powerful. Whether you collected the data, where you developed the methodology, where you ran the experiment, where you wrote the paper. There is actually a contribution table that is already published by Elsewhere Journal, that which paper development has like 10 different stages and which stage you're involved in. Either you can communicate that table or you can just communicate that into Word. I think that would probably help you, whether it is social sciences or STEM. I think both way it works.
Yes, so Rajesh ji is absolutely right. So recently, like I have come across a couple of papers where in social sciences where there were more than like five, six, seven authors, and we had also planned in my department of politics at Royal Hallway. There was discussion, like I was part of one of the team which wanted to develop a like having more than 10 authors to publish a paper, and they were trying to do larger objective was that electoral voter ID was first time used in UK in last election, and they wanted to take a lead and quickly publish to quickly publish the paper based on different kind of division of the work. So that was a larger idea for publishing the paper, and nowadays it is acceptable in social sciences also, publishing paper with so many authors. And as Rajesh ji said, many universities ask that what specific contribution you have made in your application, as well as one should also be ready when you are appearing for the interview that they can ask that what were the specific contribution which you have made. So that should be there. Of course, as I said in the beginning, this kind of papers like give you advantage, saying that okay, I can work in the collaboration, working in collaboration, and arriving on one particular conclusion itself is a big achievement, or I would say a big quality for the research. So on those fronts, it is considered to be positive, but do not think that if you have published one paper in collaboration with 10 people, then that is enough for showing. No, you have to also think of publishing individual paper with co-author paper. Individual paper gives you opportunity to showcase that you are an independent learner, you can work independently. Nowadays there is also discussion that whether you have published from PhD itself or outside of the PhD also. So PhD work gives you opportunity to showcase that we are capable of working under supervision. That kind of work is considered to be someone research conducted under supervision, but independent separate topic from PhD, that gives a like it showcases that you are capable of doing working independently on independent project. So that would be my suggestion. And Bharatji is like constantly asking people to give feedback. I
Yeah.
think everyone should give feedback. Feedback is very necessary,
Yeah, I have
particularly
two,
in
three
UK
sentences to
academia.
add after Arvind finishes.
So yeah, everyone should like take a 2 minute and just give your feedback, whatever you think about it. Yeah,
Two
Rajesh,
things I had to
okay,
add
please.
after whatever you said, it clicked me is I think research has moved from individual, kind of to collaborative and interdisciplinary, and we have to
Mm.
recognize that aspect. And the whole idea is to actually address a problem, solve a problem, or critically, review the existing literature or all of those. One classic example that I saw, Abhijit Banerjee, who got the Nobel Prize in economics, his whole team was given the Nobel Prize in economics. Not like he had a whole group that was researching and collecting data from Indian villages and so on, right? So
Yeah,
although he was recognized as the individual, but then his whole group was working towards it. I
yeah,
forgot the name of the thing, organization they worked, but there were like hundreds of people working and solving that problem. So it's also the impact.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll just like to add one thing. I think if you're a scholar who's just starting, having one paper published with 10 authors is better than having no paper published with any author. So you can have that collaboration, but keep in mind you still have to work yeah. So like I'm working with in collaboration with like a medical team over here at Hopkins, and there are like authors who I've never met in life, right? So they would just be there. They have done some work in background. They would be on that paper, but that's how STEM field works. Whereas in social sciences, like every author, they would have contributed something in a way that you have seen them around. Whereas in STEM, like they have done something in lab which you have not aware about, like, and they would be on the paper. It's not that I'm not saying that they have not done work, but they have just done something in the lab which you are not aware about. Yeah. Um, so just to conclude, this has been a really fascinating session where we learned a lot about the so-called hidden curriculum that is behind research and writing, especially for first generation learner, where we lack the structural knowledge gap, right? So hopefully, this session has helped us in gaining some of insights in research and publishing and diminishing that structural knowledge gap. And please give your feedback. So if there is a knowledge gap that is existing, then we and Bharat and team can fulfill that, right? Yeah. Thanks a lot to Rajesh Kumar and Arvind Kumar for this fantastic session. Yeah, and for all the participants for joining us today.
Bye,
We are
everyone.
one
Thank you.
minute.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Okay.
Rajesh. Thank you, Arvind.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.